Most people don't realize this, but the entire state of Wyoming has fewer people than a lot of cities in America. You could fit every single person in Wyoming into a city like Denver and still have room left over. And when people first hear that, they usually ask the same question: why? Because on paper, Wyoming has a lot going for it. Low taxes, beautiful scenery, open space, outdoor recreation, and a pretty affordable cost of living compared to a lot of the country. So why is it still one of the least populated states in America? Well, the answer is a lot more complicated than people think. Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Austin Arnold and I'm a local realtor here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And on this channel, I help people figure out what it's really like to live in Wyoming before they make the move. And today we're talking about why Wyoming has such a small population, why it stayed that way for so long, and honestly, why a lot of locals kind of want to keep it that way. Let's get into it. The first reason is simple. Wyoming is massive. It's the 10th largest state in the country by land area, but it has the smallest population of any state. And when you actually drive across Wyoming, it makes sense pretty quickly. There are huge stretches of land with basically nothing on them. Wide open plains, mountain ranges, ranch land, public land, and long highways where you might not see much for miles. And honestly, that's part of the appeal. A lot of Wyoming isn't designed for dense urban living. The terrain, weather, and infrastructure naturally spread people out. Even Cheyenne, which is the state capital and largest city, only has around 65,000 people. If you're coming from somewhere like Dallas, Phoenix, or Southern California, Cheyenne feels small immediately. You can drive across town in 15 minutes or so without much traffic. Now the upside of that is obvious. You get space, less congestion, and a slower pace of life. The downside is that Wyoming simply doesn't have the population centers that attract massive growth. Also, the weather pushes some people away. Let's be honest here, it's not for everybody. People love to romanticize Wyoming until they experience a 50-mile-per-hour wind gust in February. The winters here can be long, windy, and cold. And unlike places with milder climates year-round, Wyoming doesn't necessarily attract people looking for easy weather. Cheyenne specifically gets a ton of sunshine, which helps a lot, but the wind is real. That's one of the first things people notice when they move here. And then you get into other parts of the state, places like Casper, Rock Springs, or Laramie, and winters can feel even harsher depending on elevation and exposure. Now personally, I think people exaggerate the weather a little bit online. It's manageable and most locals adapt pretty quickly. But if someone's deciding between Wyoming and somewhere warmer like Arizona or Texas, weather absolutely becomes a factor, especially for retirees or remote workers who can live anywhere. Another huge reason Wyoming stays lightly populated is because there just aren't many large urban job centers. Most states with exploding populations have multiple major metro areas driving that growth. Wyoming doesn't really have that. Cheyenne's the largest city and it's still relatively small. Casper, Gillette, Sheridan, Laramie, these are all smaller communities compared to what most people think of as a city. And because of that, Wyoming tends to attract a very specific type of person. Usually people who want less hustle and bustle, not more. Now, there are definitely jobs here, especially in government, healthcare, education, railroad, energy, construction, and military-related industries around places like F.E. Warren Air Force Base. But Wyoming's economy isn't built around giant tech hubs or corporate headquarters. That limits population growth naturally. At the same time, that smaller economy is also part of what keeps life here more relaxed and affordable compared to rapidly growing metro areas. People move here for lifestyle, not opportunity alone. This is probably the biggest thing people misunderstand about Wyoming. Most people don't move here chasing status, nightlife, or massive career growth. They move here because they want a different lifestyle. They want space, they want lower taxes, they want less traffic, they want to be near nature, they want a quieter environment to raise a family or slow things down. And the reality is that's a much smaller percentage of the overall population. Cheyenne especially attracts people who like having a balance. You're close enough to Colorado to access bigger city amenities if you want them, but you don't have to deal with Denver traffic every single day. That's a huge selling point for a lot of people moving here from crowded areas. But again, Wyoming isn't trying to be New York, Miami, or Austin. And because it's not trying to be those places, it naturally appeals to fewer people. Up next is another major factor. Wyoming has a very independent culture. People here generally value privacy, self-reliance, and personal freedom. And while that's something many people love, it can also feel different if you're coming from a larger, more social, highly connected urban environment. In Cheyenne, people are friendly, but not always overly outgoing right away. There's less of that fast-paced networking culture you get in bigger cities. People tend to keep to themselves more, and there's a stronger sense of earning trust over time. That independent culture also affects growth. Wyoming residents are often cautious about rapid expansion and overdevelopment. A lot of locals genuinely do not want Cheyenne turning into another overcrowded Front Range city. And honestly, you'll hear that conversation all the time here. People want growth, but controlled growth. And housing and infrastructure limit growth too. Now let's talk about something practical. One thing that surprises people is that even though Wyoming has a lot of land, development isn't always easy or fast. Infrastructure costs can be high because communities are spread out. Utilities, roads, internet expansion, and services all become more complicated when population density is low. And in Cheyenne specifically, housing inventory can sometimes be tighter than people expect because the city is growing steadily, but not at the massive scale of some nearby Colorado cities. You're also dealing with a workforce shortage in some industries, which slows construction and development. So while Wyoming absolutely has room physically, growth still happens at a slower pace compared to major boom states. Here's another interesting point. Millions of people visit Wyoming every year. Places like Yellowstone National Park and Grand Teton National Park are world famous. But visiting Wyoming and living in Wyoming are completely different experiences. A lot of people come here in the summer and fall when the weather is beautiful. The mountains are incredible and everything feels peaceful. Living here year-round means dealing with winter, wind, limited shopping compared to major metros, and a quieter social environment. For some people that sounds perfect. For others it feels too isolated, and that naturally keeps the population lower. Now, with all that said, Wyoming is not shrinking into nothing. Cheyenne has actually seen steady growth over the last several years, especially from people relocating out of higher cost states. A lot of buyers moving here are coming from Colorado, California, Texas, and other areas where affordability has become a challenge. And what they like about Cheyenne is that it still feels manageable. You can buy a home without needing a 7-figure budget. You can get around town easily. You're close to outdoor recreation. And there's still a strong sense of community here. Downtown Cheyenne has been improving quite a bit too. You've got newer restaurants, local coffee shops, breweries, and community events happening throughout the year. Events like Cheyenne Frontier Days bring a huge amount of energy into the city every summer, and there's a lot of local pride tied to that Western culture and identity. But even with growth, Cheyenne still feels small compared to most cities people are moving from. And honestly, that's exactly why many people choose it. So why is Wyoming one of the least populated states? At the end of the day, it comes down to this. Wyoming offers a lifestyle that not everybody wants, but the people who do want it tend to really love it. The weather can be tough, the cities are smaller, the pace is slower, the culture is more independent, and there are fewer big city amenities. But in exchange, you get space, freedom, lower taxes, less traffic, incredible scenery, and a quality of life that's getting harder to find in a lot of places. And for many people, especially right now, that trade-off is becoming more appealing. If you're someone who values peace and quiet over non-stop activity, Wyoming starts to make a lot more sense. And if you're thinking about relocating to Cheyenne and want help figuring out neighborhoods, housing, cost of living, or whether Wyoming is actually the right fit for your lifestyle, click the link down below to download my free guide to Cheyenne, Wyoming, or feel free to reach out directly. I'm always happy to help people navigate the move. And if you got value out of this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.